Heracles, and the myths of ancient Greece. Introduction. In the quiet hours of the night, when the world is still and the mind begins to drift, stories from a distant past find new life. Among these, few resonate as deeply as those of ancient Greece, a civilization where gods mingled with mortals, and fate wove its threads through the deeds of heroes. At the heart of these myths stands a figure both tragic and triumphant, Heracles, known more widely by his Roman name, Hercules. Heracles is not merely a hero of strength. He is a reflection of the human condition, flawed, driven, punished, and redeemed. Born from the will of Zeus and the mortal Alcmen, his life was shaped by divine jealousy and mortal suffering. Yet through trials both physical and spiritual, he etched his name into legend. This is not a tale of glory alone, but of burden. The name Heracles means glory of Hera, a bitter irony, as Hera's hatred would haunt him from cradle to grave. Through each of his famed 12 labors, through each moment of pain and triumph, the myths of Heracles unfold not as mere adventure, but as allegory, echoing through centuries of human imagination. This story begins not with a sword, but with a prophecy. Chapter 1. Birth of a Hero. Long before Heracles would wrestle monsters or descend into the underworld, he was a child born of a complicated lineage and a divine scheme. His mother, Alcmen, was a mortal queen of Thebes, known for her beauty and piety. One night, while her husband Amphitryon was away at war, Zeus visited her, disguised as Amphitryon himself. Their union produced a child destined for greatness. But greatness is rarely granted without envy. Hera, wife of Zeus, discovered the betrayal and swore vengeance. She delayed Alcmen's labor, using her divine power to hinder the birth of Heracles. To further her vendetta, she sped up the birth of another child, Eurystheus, a distant cousin, ensuring that he would be born first and thus claim the throne that prophecy had said would belong to the next-born descendant of Perseus. Despite Hera's interference, Heracles was born, but his fate was already entangled in divine spite. Even as an infant, he was tested. Hera, in a cruel attempt to kill him, sent 2 serpents into his cradle. The baby Heracles, showing unnatural strength even then, strangled the snakes with his bare hands, a moment that would become the first sign of his legendary power. Alcmen feared for her son's safety and entrusted him to Athena, the goddess of wisdom, who in turn brought him to Hera herself, disguising the infant so the goddess would unwittingly nurse him. As Heracles suckled, his strength caused Hera pain, and she cast him aside. But from this divine milk, the child gained godlike resilience, and a new legend began. The Milky Way itself was said to have been formed from the spilled drops. Thus began the life of Heracles, a life defined not just by strength, but by suffering, endurance, and the cruel whims of the gods. Chapter 2. The Making of a Warrior. As Heracles grew, so did his strength, but also his temper. Recognizing both the promise and danger in the boy, Alcmene and Amphitryon sought to give him a proper education. He was taught by the best minds and warriors in Greece, music from Linus, a son of Apollo, wrestling and archery from Eurytus, swordsmanship from Castor, the Spartan hero, and chariot driving from Autolycus, the cunning son of Hermes. Yet not all went smoothly. One day, when rebuked too harshly during a music lesson, the young Heracles struck Linus with a lyre and killed him. a tragic sign of the uncontrollable force he carried within. Though the act was ruled self-defense, it showed that his strength, when unchecked by wisdom, could be as dangerous as any monster. Seeking discipline, Heracles retreated to the countryside, where he worked among shepherds. It was there he killed the lion of Cithaeron, a fearsome beast that had terrorized the land. Wearing the lion's pelt as a cloak and using its skull as a helmet, Heracles began to resemble the warrior he would become. The image would become iconic, the lion skin and club, symbols of his raw, primal power. In time, he returned to Thebes, where he helped defend the city from an invading army. As a reward, King Creon offered him the hand of his daughter, Megara. For a brief moment, Heracles found peace. He married Megara and fathered several children. It seemed as though he might finally live a life of joy and dignity, but fate and Hera had other plans. Chapter 3: Madness and the Oracle. Hera, never forgetting the child of Zeus, struck when Heracles was most vulnerable. In a fit of divine-induced madness, Heracles was driven to commit an unspeakable act. Believing he was under attack by enemies, he slaughtered his own children, and in some versions of the myth, Megara as well. When he awoke from the madness and saw what he had done, he was consumed by horror and grief. The weight of his actions crushed him. Seeking redemption, he turned to the Oracle of Delphi, the mouthpiece of Apollo, to ask how he might atone for his sins. The oracle's response was chilling. He was to serve Eurystheus, the very cousin whose birth Hera had orchestrated, and complete a series of seemingly impossible tasks. Only then could he be cleansed. These were not ordinary labors. They were designed to humiliate and destroy him. But Heracles accepted them. He would face monsters, descend into the underworld, and perform feats no mortal could survive. He would not do so for glory, but for forgiveness. And so began the 12 labors of Heracles, acts of courage, penance, and endurance that would define not only his legacy, but the moral tapestry of Greek mythology. Chapter 4: The First Labor, the Nemean Lion. The first task set before Heracles was to slay the Nemean lion, a monstrous beast that terrorized the valley of Nemea. Its hide was said to be impervious to weapons. Arrows and blades simply bounced off, leaving hunters helpless. Undeterred, Heracles ventured into the lion's territory. He tried arrows first. They failed. Then he set traps. The lion evaded them. Finally, he followed the beast into a cave with 2 exits and blocked one entrance to corner it inside. In the darkness, the hero battled the lion with his bare hands. It was a brutal contest of strength and fury, but Heracles prevailed, strangling the beast to death. When he attempted to skin it, no blade would pierce its hide. Guided by Athena, he used the lion's own claw to strip its pelt. From that day forward, Heracles wore the lion's skin as armor, a symbol of his triumph, and a warning to all who would challenge him. Chapter 5: The Second Labor, the Lernaean Hydra. The next challenge was even more terrifying. In the swampy lake of Lerna lived the Hydra, a serpent-like creature with multiple heads. For each head severed, 2 would grow in its place. Its breath was poison, and its blood could kill with a touch. Heracles set out, accompanied by his loyal nephew, Iolaus. At first, he tried to cut off the heads with his sword, but they kept multiplying. Realizing brute force alone would not win the day, Heracles devised a new strategy. As he sliced each head, Iolaus cauterized the stump with fire, preventing new heads from growing. Eventually, only the immortal central head remained. Heracles crushed it with a massive boulder. As a final act, he dipped his arrows in the Hydra's poisonous blood, a choice that would bring both power and tragedy in the years ahead.